This is the AP Government Civics Project for Melissa Hayes. For this topic, we must have to do a project on the federal government, not local or state, and it must be about something current or within the last 4 years or so, blah, blah, blah. Most focus on effects from the government's action on people's lives today and in the recent past, and on how the various branches of government deal with the topic. The thing about the CIA is that it is a civilian organization under the executive branch, and you'll see throughout this project that repeatedly the issue of them not having any accountability comes up over and over and over again. So, yeah.
I'm a Tesla guy. Gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day I die.
In the 1980s, there was a crack epidemic in the United States. This is characterized by Ronald Reagan's war on drugs. But in August 1996, there was an article published called The Dark Alliance, which tried to say that the CIA was actually responsible for it. This is a file released by the Department of Justice. This chapter introduces the context and scope of the OIG's investigation into allegations that the CIA was involved in drug trafficking activities connected to the Nicaraguan Contras. In August 1996, the San Jose Mercury News published a series titled Dark Alliance, which alleged that individuals associated with the Nicaragua Contras had flooded south central Los Angeles with cocaine in the 1980s. Bad stuff. This article further claimed that the individuals used the proceeds from the drug trafficking to finance the Contras war against the Sandinista regime in Nicaragua. The series suggested that the CIA was complicit in these activities, either by direct involvement or by turning a blind eye. The OIG's report outlined the public reaction to these allegations, noting that the articles sparked significant controversy and concern, particularly within the African American community, not a community you want to mess with. They reported also discusses previous investigations into similar allegations and describes the methodology of the OIG employed in its review, including examining the Department of Justice's investigations and prosecutions related to the claims. Overall, this chapter sets the stage for the OIG's comprehensive examination of the allegations, providing background on the claims made and the initial responses from various stakeholders. The second part of the 1980s was the PBS Frontline article by Craig DeLaval. It examines the controversy sparked by journalist Gary Webb's 1996 Dark Alliance series in the San Jose Mercury News. Webb alleged that during the 1980s, a drug network involving CIA-linked operatives, the San Francisco drug ring, and a Los Angeles dealer funneled crack cocaine into African-American communities in Los Angeles. The profits from these drug sales were purportedly used to fund the CIA-backed Contras in Nicaragua. The series ignited significant public outcry, particularly among African-American leaders like U.S. Representative Maxine Waters, who viewed it as evidence of a deliberate effort to undermine inner-city black communities. However, Webb's claims face significant and substantial criticism from major media outlets, including the Washington Post and the New York Times, as well as from his own newspaper. Critics argued that Webb's reporting lacked solid evidence and relied heavily on conspiracy theories. Webb later conceded that there is no concrete proof implicating the CIA as an institution in CIA-backed drug trafficking activities. Despite the lack of definitive evidence, the allegations prompted the CIA Inspector General Frederick Hitz to conduct an internal investigation. The resulting report, released in 1998, acknowledged that while the CIA did not directly engage in drug trafficking, it had relationships with individuals and entities involved in such activities. The report highlighted the complexities of covert operations and the unintended consequences of alliances formed during the Cold War era. In conclusion, the CIA kind of did it, but not really. When somebody brings this up in conversation, it's more of a colloquial thing that's culturally understood by many Americans. Win for the CIA because they didn't really do it. Fat L for inner-city African-American communities because they all got addicted to crack.
If you see me out in Cohort, say hi, but if you meet me at the Clam, I'm a talkative guy.
Y'all, 9/11 sucks, but it goes back way further than that, into the 1990s. So, the CIA knew about two hijackers, Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. Chapter 5 of the U.S. Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General's OIG special report titled A Review of the FBI's Handling of Intelligence Information Related to the September 11th Attacks focuses on the CIA's handling of intelligence concerning 2 of the 9/11 hijackers. The chapter identifies 5 critical opportunities where the FBI could have acted on intelligence to potentially prevent the attacks. Early 2000, Hazmi and Mihdhar attend a meeting in Malaysia with known Al-Qaeda operatives. The CIA obtained information about this meeting, but they did not share it promptly with the FBI. Mid-2000, the 2 hijackers entered the United States and resided in San Diego. They had connections with individuals under FBI investigation and even lived with an FBI informant, yet this information was not effectively utilized. Late 2000 to early 2001, a joint FBI-CIA source provided information linking the hijackers to the USS Cole bombing mastermind. However, this intelligence was not adequately analyzed or disseminated into the FBI. Mid-2001, discussions between the FBI and CIA regarding the Malaysia meetings did not result in actionable intelligence being shared, missing another chance to identify the threat. August 2001, the CIA learned that Mihdhar had entered the U.S. on July 4, 2001, and initiated a search in early September. Despite this, the search lacked urgency and failed to locate the hijackers before the attack. The OIG's analysis highlights systemic issues that impeded effective information sharing between the CIA and FBI. These included inadequate procedures for documenting and disseminating intelligence, a lack of understanding of each agency's processes, and insufficient infrastructure to support counterterrorism efforts. The report concludes that these deficiencies contributed to the FBI's failure to act on critical intelligence that might have prevented the September 11th attacks. The CIA also had some responses to 9/11. The following is an excerpt from an article called Institution and Organization Crisis, the CIA After 9/11 by Simon Wilmette and Constant Higdzen. 9/11 shifted the main focus of the CIA's attention away from traditional intelligence work. For obvious reasons, after 9/11, the CIA focused increasingly on counterterrorism. This changed the CIA. Counterterrorism, as opposed to more traditional intelligence work, often involves intervention and sometimes violent intervention. After 1911, the CIA led Special Forces operations and played a leading role in the 2001 invasion of Afghanistan. In Afghanistan and across the globe, the CIA captured terrorist suspects, rendered them to secret prisons in foreign countries, and tortured them. And after President Barack Obama disclosed the CIA's secret prisons and ended the practice of torture, increasingly the preferred method of dealing with terrorist suspects was to kill them via drone strikes through Special Forces raids. As a result, CIA intelligence collection and analysis became less of a passive activity where the aim is to understand a particular strategic question and more of a kinetic in obtaining information that might help target terrorist suspects and mark them for death. As a result, the traditional line between the CIA operatives and analysis began to blur. More of the CIA's increasing involvement in these violent military-like activities exposed them to numerous scandals that became crises of their own. Shout out Simon Wilmette and Constant Higdzen. One of the victims of these drone strikes was a man named Al-Awlaki, and this is an excerpt from a court document filed in 2010. That's what the website says, but there's dates referenced in it that go up to 2012, so that's possibly a typo. In 2011, U.S. drones in Yemen killed 3 U.S. citizens. One of them, Anwar al-Awlaki, was an intended target since he was on the CIA and Pentagon's kill list of suspected terrorists operating overseas. The other 2 were not intended targets. We filed a lawsuit in July 2012 on behalf of the United States of these 3 U.S. citizens seeking damages from former Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, former CIA Director David Petraeus, Admiral William McRaven, and Lieutenant General Joseph Votel. With regard to Mr. Al-Awlaki, we allege that killing him violated his rights under the 4th and 5th Amendments because he did not pose an imminent threat to the United States. With regard to the non-targets, we allege that the government failed to take adequate measures to avoid killing innocent bystanders. The defendants moved to dismiss, arguing that the case presented only political questions, and the court therefore lacked jurisdiction, that it would be inappropriate to recognize a damages remedy in this context, and that they have qualified immunity because they did not violate any clearly established constitutional right. In April 2014, the district court rejected the government's argument that the case should be dismissed as presenting only a political question, but held that it was barred by special factors. One such special factor was that it would impermissibly draw the court into the heart of executive and military planning and deliberation. The lawyers write, we did not appeal. So, once again, tying back to the initial aim of this Haiti government project, focusing on the government action on people's lives today in the recent past and how the various branches of government deal with the topic, CIA is so intertwined with the authority of the executive branch that even the judicial branch didn't want to touch it. Now, this is the judicial branch of Washington, D.C. It didn't specify if it was the Supreme Court. I doubt it was. But even lawyers and judges don't want to touch this because the CIA is so powerful. And I think that's a nice place to end this. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Yeah, bye.